I have a song stuck in my head, and I'm just being transparent. Just a small town girl living in a lonely world. It took the midnight train going anywhere. Just a city boy. Took the midnight train going anywhere. Okay, so here's the thing. I really just had it on my mind. I've never done that before. But here's the thing. I was sitting there back in the back, and I was thinking about you, and that song popped in my head. Isn't that weird? I think that's weird. Here's why. I think that I was sitting there praying over you guys here in worship, and not in a creepy way, but like I was sitting there watching you, again, not in a creepy way, but like in a dad way. Like I was looking over you, and I was just thinking about those moments that define us. I really think there's some moments in our life that define us, and I was literally praying in the back, and I was like, Lord, here's the thing, man. Like I just got here, but I did come here for a reason, and here's, you know my heart. Like I just want to see you be you, and I want people to have the same opportunity that I had to see you clearly and to respond to you clearly to that moment that you gave me, because that moment has really shaped my life. And that song popped in my head, and I don't know if it's because it's like this epic moment, you know, like Don't Stop Believing. It's like these moments where you get on the bus, you're headed to a new direction, something's got to give, and you just head off to this new place. And I'm just here to tell you, today I want to walk you to the banks of a moment. And here's the thing, I know I'm this guy that I don't spend my life in moments. I got 5 kids. I love Jesus. He's been super faithful. I'll tell you the long story short, I grew up in an inner city project, and God's been nothing but faithful to me. And I would tell you, my life has been filled with lots of obedience, like kind of in the same direction. It's been really hard for me. Some of you are like me. Your life was crazy town. How many of you had crazy town life? Still kind of in it. Is that cool? Okay. How many of you, life's been pretty all right? Like it starts good? Okay. So here's the thing, like I want to walk you into a moment. I want to give you an opportunity to have a moment, but you're going to have to take it. And I think that's the hardest thing for me, is because what I've found out in life is that these moments that come our way, and Job's friend, his fourth friend, not his first 3, his fourth friend talks about this thing where you only get a couple of these moments in life, and the problem is at your age, you think you're going to get a bunch of them. And the reality is you won't. Like you're not going to have a lot of moments to really step into like what you're made to be and who you're made to do. There are very few moments, and I love this because we're going to talk about a time with Elijah and Elisha, and they're going to go down to this place. They're going to go down to, I wish I could take you there. I've been there. I go there a lot to Israel, and I wish I could take you to the banks of the Jordan. It's like right here, and I can picture it in my mind. As a matter of fact, it's really crazy. This place that Elijah and Elisha go, it's the exact same place that several other massive, huge moments are going to happen. So one of the moments that's going to happen in this, if you remember, there's this guy named Moses. Moses led his people out of slavery. They go through the wilderness. They end up on this mountain. And in this mountain, they look over, and they're just like going, man, this is crazy. This is awesome. And then as they look across the mountain, he's like, okay, you guys ready? Y'all ready? Y'all ready? Y'all ready? Now you ready to step into the promises I have for you? Are you ready to live like the destiny that I made you for? And right in that moment, the water split, and on the banks of the Jordan, just north, outside of Jericho, just north of the Dead Sea, the Israelites, 1 million-ish people, crossed over and became the nation of Israel for the very first time. So that's one moment. And you're going to have another one with Elisha and Elijah, where they're going to come down. And I'm just going to tell you, this is Elijah's greatest moment, and I'm going to submit to you it might be Elisha's. And in this moment, they come down, and they're coming down here, and again, the water split before. The water's going to split again. And we're going to find out that Elijah's going to ride up into a chariot of fire. We'll get to that point. But Elisha's going to have a moment. Next moment after that, fast forward, there's going to be 2 guys. There's going to be one called John the Baptist and one called Jesus. And Jesus is working a day job. He's up like in his hometown, just outside of Nazareth at this place called Sepphoris, where he likely worked. And something after working a day job all the way up until he's 30 years old, something happened inside of him. Again, I'm going to tell you, moments don't come as often as you think. He's going to prompt Jesus in the middle of his heart, says, hey, I got something for you. I've got a place for you. He goes down to be baptized in those exact. Isn't it interesting that moments tend to happen in the same kind of places? So in that moment, it's John the Baptist. John looks at him and says, behold the Lamb of God that takes away the sins of the world. Jesus walks down. He's going to be baptized by John. Spirit, now instead of the waters parting, it says the heavens part. And God's Spirit's going to come down on Jesus, and Jesus is going to step into the thing he was made for. He's going to start his ministry. And I just think it's interesting. Is it interesting that so many moments happen in the same kinds of places? So I just want to say to you today, and I'm going to be like super blunt, I'm going to be clear. I think I'm going to give my best at this. But I just want I want to tell you, young man, young woman, that I don't know, I wish I did. There are very few times that you will have an opportunity like this, in a week like this, surrounded by people like this, to make the decision that you and I both know you need to make. And it will be the best decision you've ever made, but you have to decide to make it. I can tell you, it was at a CIY like this where I first made a decision to really pursue God with everything. One of my closest friends, who's a senior pastor at our church and accountability partner, one of my favorite dudes on the planet, he received his calling to go into full-time ministry. I can tell you missionaries that have had their moment here. I can tell you, literally elders, deacons, incredible businessmen, guys that are revolutionizing in our city and around the country, the foster care industry. I'm just telling you, there are a lot of people that have been where you've been. And in an environment like this, as clear as I can say, they just had a moment. They had a moment where they just realized, man, you know what? I got to make a decision. So here's what I'm going to do. I want to set up the story. 2 Kings chapter 2, it's going to just say this, and I'm just going to walk through here, and let me give you a little life. I'm going to be as transparent as I can be, and then you're going to have your own moment. Here we go. So 2 Kings chapter 2 says, verse 9, says, when they had crossed, so remember they came down the Jordan, that's the place where moments happen. It says, when they had crossed, Elijah said to Elisha, tell me what I can do for you before I'm taken. And I think you know this, but there's a lot of adult leaders in here that just love you, and they want to help you go farther than they've gone. And I think you've probably talked about the cloak and what that meant. I'm assuming I didn't get to hear all your sermons. But I'm assuming that you know there are a lot of people that believe in you, that put a cloak around you, and said, I want to give you my time, I want to give you my investment, I'm going to bring you here. I want you to hear from some people that love Jesus. I want you to spend some time in worship because I believe in what God's doing inside of you, and I think it's more significant than you know. That's you right now. You're Elisha. In this moment, Elijah comes up and he just says, and I love this, there's a powerful thing about having the right people in your life. I think that you know that. I think that you know that there's a power in having the wrong people in your life. And so here's what I know. I can almost tell who you're going to be by the sum total of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. That's just the way life works. It happens with me too. Who are you going to spend time with? Elisha chose Elijah. Elijah chose Elisha. And so the power of great relationships, and this is what's going to happen. So Elisha looks at Elijah and says this line. He says, here's what I want. And it's going to sound like, I remember reading this and I was like, man, that's... You sure that's okay to ask? like he just says, he says, let me inherit a double portion of your spirit. So Elisha, that's what he said. He said, okay, if you're asking, you really want to help me, here's the reality. Can I have what you have? And can I not just have what you have, can I have twice as much? And at first glance, I'm just going to be honest, like part of me is like, brother, you know who you're talking to. Come on, man. You want twice as much Elijah, dude, like brought fire down. Like he was up and people were going crazy. And I don't know if you guys talked about this, but when he was talking to Baal, he was like, I think your God's going to the bathroom, or to the prophets, are like, I think your God's going to the bathroom. He's taking a dump. That's literal translation. He's just like trash talking up there. He's having a ball watching God show up in fire. And he watched him hold off a rainstorm. And he watched kings and kingdoms shift like that at God's command. And then later on, you didn't unpack this, but there's another group of people, and he just sent fire down on them. And I'm not even getting into that story, but Elijah was like the dude. And Elijah would just like miracles and power. He's like he will ride up into heaven on a chariot of fire. He's going to come back when Jesus is in town, when like just about 1,000 years later. He's going to have a conversation with Jesus up on a mountain with Moses when things get hard for Jesus. Elijah's the dude. You need to know Elijah's the dude. And so when I hear this, I go, Elisha, I don't know if you can ask that, man. So I just want to walk you through a little bit of a story that kind of helped me roll with this. So my mom is a good woman. She's the reason I'm a Jesus follower today. And let me kind of unpack why. So my mom was a 16-year-old girl. 16-year-old girls, where you at? Hey, you're on the front row. That's cool. Front row girls, 16, okay. 16 years old, my mom, how would you girls feel about this? 16-year-olds, my mom had a pretty terrible upbringing. She knew that her mom, true story, mom didn't really want her around. Dad was going through a divorce with mom, and dad wasn't sure what to do with her. She was a little bit tomboyish, and so she just thought, man, I know I'm not loved at home, so I'm going to seek the love of a boy. Time out. How many of you know that girls trying to fix things by finding the love of a boy ain't going to go good? Anybody? Can I get a witness? Just go, oh, son, yeah. So here's the thing. So my mom at 16 years old, she finds a senior boy, but she didn't just find the senior boy. The senior boy is making a lot of promises. The senior boy says, you know what you need to do is you just need to marry me. Your mom doesn't want you anyways. Why don't you let her sign these papers? Because that's what they could do back then. And why don't you marry me and be my bride and I'll take care of you. I got you. It's going to be great. My mom says yes. Her mom says yes. At the barely 17 years old, my mom gets married. She finds out that the guy that she married has a pretty bad temper problem. Some of you have dated a guy that has the same. He started beating her pretty severely. He started controlling her. He started manipulating her. Right off the bat, she was like, okay, well, here's the thing. It's probably just me. He just has a bad temper. It's not a big deal. I'm sure I probably deserved it anyways. Then all of a sudden, she had a little baby. And when he kicked my older brother in the ribs and put him in the hospital at 1 year old, she realized maybe it's not the baby, maybe it's not me, maybe it's him. So she started to run. So here's the problem. She's got to run to somebody that's strong enough to ward off the death threats because he said and he promised, and he probably would have, said, and this happens a lot of times, and you girls know that I'm right. He said, if you ever leave me, you need to know there's going to be consequences. I will hunt you down. So my mom runs to the next person that she finds my dad. And here's the thing, you don't mess with my dad. My dad's a former Special Forces Vietnam veteran. My dad is a bad dude. My dad was back from Vietnam, recruited at an early age, was exceptional at a lot of things, but then those exceptions and those talents got him into a situation where he ended up doing things that he didn't comprehend, with shame and guilt that he couldn't turn off, and he came back after seeing a lot of things he wished he never would have seen, and he came back a really quiet, broken man, and he and my mom came together and had me. I didn't fix things. How broke you think they were? No, they were broke. They didn't know how to have a relationship. You got this step kid, and you got this, and you got this, and he had a family before that he left. And so my mom, I'm born trying to figure out what in the world do I do, where in the world do I go? She ends up going to a place like this, a moment like this, a place where people said, if you come to this, I'm just telling you, you've at least got a shot. She takes the invitation. She shows up to a Billy Graham crusade one night just thinking, man, if I know I need something. God, please cut through the cloud. I need something. I don't even know who to ask. And in that moment, my mom I don't know how to say this, but maybe you understand this a little bit because of the Elijah message. My mom caught the fire of God's presence that night. And I'm telling you, man, she just started to burn. She went home and they just told her, she's like, what do I do? And they're like, just go home and read your Bible and pray like half an hour in the morning, which isn't great. I mean, it's not bad advice. So she just went home, she just found herself on her knees, and she just started growing and praying. And I'm just here to tell you, I'm here because my mom found something real. See, Elisha saw something Elijah that he hadn't seen before. He saw this fire, he saw this blaze, he saw this real, tangible thing, and he said, I want that. Like, I remember watching my mom. I remember sneaking down the stairs because I was so afraid because I got pretty abused by my older brothers. At 6 years old, they used to have me smoking pot when my family members were around to get me high. Like, they hated me. I was the golden child. It was a bad situation. But I remember creeping into to our living room early in the morning. I remember it was like my mom was meeting with her best friend. Like, you could just feel the presence of God in that room. And it was real. And I would watch her. I remember at 6 years old remembering that I knew more about our checkbook than any 6-year-old should know about how broke we were and what we didn't have. And I remember us being out, and I remember my mom writing these checks for like $100, which might as well have been $1 million at the time. And my mom in tears getting back in the car and just saying, and I'm going, Mom, we don't have money. She says, I know, but Jesus told me to do it. And if Jesus says do it, you do it. And I remember driving home, and I remember walking in, and just so happened, I'm telling you, time after time after time after time, there's $100 that comes out of nowhere. There's somebody that stops by and just wants to help us with this. There's something that happens, and I just watched this growing thing inside of my mom, and it was so real. And here's what I get. I know that some of you have been raised around fake Jesus. And I know that. But I'm telling you tonight about a moment when you see something so real, and I saw, and I've seen, and I've watched real Jesus. Not like I'm there on Sunday, I've got the right moral stuff, I'm enough Jesus, but I'm enough for the world, and I'm kind of balanced between. I've seen people go in, I've seen people just have this fire that consumes them, that makes them a totally different person, where they just love, and they give, and they change, and it's just it's the most powerful thing. And I remember being about your age, and I just remember thinking, Elisha, I just want what my mom has. I want it. Because that is the most powerful thing I've ever seen in my life. And I would give anything to have it. And everything else in my life literally failed in comparison. And I think Elisha says, hey, Elijah, man, I see what you have, and I want that, man. I want that. I want what's inside of you. And I would just wonder if he just understood that he was standing. Maybe he's standing on the banks of something even more. Let me put it to you this way. So I saw that thing that was real in my mom. I did. And I'm telling you, I can't explain it. Maybe you've seen it. Maybe you haven't seen it. I get it. But I'm just telling you, I stood on the banks early on in my life, and I just remember starting saying, God, if I could just have that, if I could just have that, if I could just have that. And then I remember this glimpse, and it was right about your age, when I started saying, but here's the thing, what if I'm literally not just standing, what if I'm not just going to have what my mom has, but what if it's possible? Would my mom long for, would God long for me to even have more? Let me put it like this. So my mom had this fire. What did she do with this fire? She took that fire back as a 30-year-old woman, and she started repairing her life. She started putting her marriage back together. She started trying to figure out how to raise godly kids, even though we were growing up in the city. And I remember the cops in and out of her home from my older siblings. And I remember everything melting down all the time. But my mom's faith, God met us. But it was always in the darkness. It was always at this critical need. It was always in these moments that I didn't think that God could show up, but he really did. And I just started thinking, what if, this is crazy, but what if I stood on my mom's shoulders? And what if, like, instead of waiting until I'm 30 and everything's broke, coming to him to fix things, and y'all, he does. Don't hear me, he does. But what if? It's kind of like Elisha. It's like Elijah, him walking around with Elijah saying, hey, Elijah, tell me again that time when you felt really lonely. Tell me about that cave moment. And Elijah was like, man, listen, man, here's the thing. You're going to have these moments in life, and you're going to feel so alone. You're going to feel like God's not there. You're going to be afraid. You're not even sure why you're going to be afraid, but it's just real because he's shown up in the past, but you're not sure that he's going to show up again. And he's just, and Elisha, hear my words, stand on my shoulders. There will never be a time when you're going to be alone. I don't care what you feel. You don't ever have to be. Elijah, tell me again, man. Tell me that time when you were in the valley, like you were in that valley, remember that? And you're like, every day you had to wait on God's provision. You had to wait on some food. You had to wait for God to do something. Just tell me, what's it like to depend on that? And Elijah just saying, Elisha, hey, Elisha, listen. Every time you're in that valley, every time you feel like you need something, I know you're going to want to throw in the towel. I know it's going to feel like God's not going to show up. I know it's going to feel like it's forever. But I'm telling you, when you allow him to show up in the valley, man, what he does on the mountain is going to blow your mind, dude. And so I just see this moment with him, and I just started thinking, you know what? What if I stood on my mom's shoulders and what if I found that fire when I was young? Like Elisha, what if I found out that God shows up in the cave before I ever got in a cave? What if I found out that God always provides, even before I had a desire to wonder if he provides? Like, what if I was confident? See, Jesus says it like this, and let me unpack it, and let me get you to your moment. James 4:2 says, you don't have because you don't ask. So Elisha is just saying, hey, listen, I'm going to be honest. I just want to ask. Jesus says, you don't have because you don't ask. As a matter of fact, John 14:12 says very truly, I tell you, whoever believes in me will do the works I've been doing. This is Jesus talking. He's going to say, and they will do even greater things. Jesus says, you're actually, all you people around me, he was talking to a group of people. He says, here's the thing, you're going to do more than I did. You got more time. I had 3.5 years. You're going to have way more time. And I'm telling you, it's okay to ask for more. It's okay to stand on people's shoulders. And so here's the thing. Elijah wasn't offended by Elisha the way my mom wasn't offended by me wanting to stand on her shoulders the way that my sons aren't. I'm not offended by my sons wanting to stand on my shoulders. Here's what I'm trying to say. Some of you in this room, you have some people right around you, some spiritual heroes, some things that they have gone through. And I'm just telling you, in this room, some of you don't have that, and I'll get to you in a minute. But I just want you to know, some of you have to start asking for more. As a matter of fact, you're not going to offend us. I think, and this sermon has been really burning on my heart, because I think there's a generation of people sitting right before me who has an opportunity to do what has not been done. To not just wait until everything explodes to put things back together later on, but to start off and to make decisions now, and to have fire now, and to have a heart now, to have real friendships now. Something inside of me says, okay, please tell me after everything, after all the people that have brought you here, that you're not going to start over and make the same mistakes we did. Please tell me somehow that you're not going to, girls, please tell me that you are not going to spend the next 6 years of your life putting your hope in a boy. Please tell me you're not. Please tell me that you can look at the women of faith ahead of you, the ones that have said, I did it, I would never do it again. It wrecked me, it ruined me, it hurt me. And please tell me, girls, that you're going to stand on the shoulders of the women in this room and the women of faith, whether you know them or not. I'll speak on their behalf. Do not put your hope in a boy. Can I get a witness? Anybody? And I'm just telling you, some of you right now, please don't wait until you're 30 to stop putting your whole world into the opinions of people and their scrolls and their likes for you. Please tell me that some of you, how many sports people? Where are you at, sports people? Okay, I love you. I love sports. I love sports. Let's take a moment. Sports. Good. Okay. I have some boys. A couple of them are wicked talented. Please tell me that you're not going to spend the next 5 years of your life and you will give your soul to a sport and know nothing about Jesus. Please tell me that's not true. Please tell me that you can stand on the shoulders of some people that would say, when you give your life to the sport, don't expect then at the end to be the kind of Jesus follower that you expected. Please tell me, please tell me that you're not going to live in the same shame and bitterness that has locked you up and kept you separated from people. Please tell me you're not going to wait until your mid-20s. You're going to wait till you're 30 to really uncover what's really inside, that you're mad at your dad and you've never said it out loud and you can't get past it. Please tell me you're not going to wait till your 30s to say, this happened to me and I don't know what to do with it and it really hurt me and it's causing all these feelings and emotions and that's why I'm acting out the way and I've always known it but I've never said it. Please tell me that you can stand on the shoulders and say, don't hide anymore. It's killing you. Please tell me that you're not going to waste your life on ESPN clips, memes on Instagram, and hours of Fortnite. I'm not hating on Fortnite. How many Fortnite people? Where you at? Okay, here's my thing. I'm not hating on Fortnite. My boys play Fortnite. It's great. But I gotta be honest, fellas, come on, man. 3-4 hours a day on Fortnite, and you barely know who Jesus is. I love you. I love you. I'm not mad at you. Couldn't be less mad. But I'm just telling you, please tell me you're not gonna get 10 years down the road, fellas and ladies, and have the same porn addiction that you said a couple times to accountability partner, but then you're right back on it and you couldn't figure out how to be regular, everyday kind of transparent. And to have the kinds of conversations that are really hard and shameful for you, knowing that there's life on the other side. Please tell me that you're not gonna do that. Please tell me that you're wise enough, that you've been seeing what's going on. Please tell me that you're not gonna give your life to a big house and a nice car and 2.2 kids, because I am meeting with the 40 and 50-year-olds in flocks, and they all have everything. Some of them are NFL players, former NFL players. Some of them are former, not NBA, baseball. What is it? Major League Baseball people. I'm meeting with, gurus and giants that run entire enterprises, and I'm telling you, every single one of them would say, I wish I would not have given my life to this. It doesn't fuel your soul. And this road does not lead to that end that you long for, and you do long for it. I don't care who you are. And I just sit there and I'm not mad. Don't hear me be mad. But I just want you to know there is this beautiful double portion life available to you. You can stand on the shoulders of some pretty incredible people who have made mistakes before you, and you don't have to walk through them. You could have fire. Like I watch these people in their 40s and they're waking up and I don't care what they drive or what house they're in, but they wake up and I meet with them and they're just I just feel so alone. I just feel so empty. I don't know what to do. I don't love my wife anymore. I'm starting to check out Facebook, which I'm like, who's on Facebook? But anyways, like I'm starting to check out Facebook and these other ladies are direct messaging me and I just don't know what to do. And I'm just sitting there watching this whole thing down and I got 3 kids and I don't have a relationship with them. And they wake up day after day after day and they're beautiful specimens on the outside. They have everything that anybody could ever long for. And they have a hole in their soul, y'all. And they're so empty, one after another, after another, after another. And they gave their life to something other than Jesus. And I promise you, without him, there is no fire. And there's no fire in your life where you wake up and you know what you're made for. There's no fire in the kind of marriage. You want a marriage, girls, where you're known, where you're longed for, and into your 40s and 50s and 60s, that there's a man that loves you because of who you are, and he is fire madly crazy in love with you. I know you do. But this road, y'all, and I'm so attracted to my wife. I'm not sure why I just said that, but I am. I am. We have 5 kids. Oh. But y'all, you need to know, hear me. Here, see these words here, and I love this, and I'm just telling you, verse 10, this is the clue right here. He just says this. Elijah looks at Elisha. He says, I know what you're asking, and I'm here to tell you, there is a double portion life. There is something so much better than what I've done, and I've done a lot. And there's still more out there. But verse 10, he says this. He says, real simple, but Elisha, man, you have asked a difficult thing. And I used to read that when I was young, and I was like, yeah, because God doesn't do very many big things. Wrong. Big things for God they're easy. Cattle on 1,000 hills. He does what he pleases. It's one of my favorite things about him. And I used to read this, and I'd be like, yeah, Elisha, you can't just ask that. You can't ask for fire in the mountains. You can't. And then it just dawned on me. Oh, he's not saying it's difficult because God can't do it. He's saying it's difficult because he remembers there was that 1.5 years of being in a valley before there was fire on a mountain. See, he knew that there are these simple, obedient moments when nobody saw that were the only way that would lead him to the place where when he would speak words and literally, like, God would just ignite his words. And I'm here to tell you, and I really mean this. I wish I could convey this. There is such a better life, y'all. Like double portion, good, wake up, satisfied, leverage your house, leverage your home, love your kids, love your wife, know what you're here for, until the day that you die, fire available. Completely available. Double portion. More than we've seen, more than I've seen. But I'm also here to tell you, I want to be real. Elijah was being real. It's harder than you think. It's harder than you think. And there's going to have to be a little bit of a reality check. So I remember being you, not you. Some of you are way better. Some of you, not so much, but I'm just kidding. But I remember that time when I was about your age, and I said, God, I just want more, man. I don't want to settle. I'm seeing enough. My brothers, I see what they've settled for. And by the way, I'll get to them. But I remember, and I'm like, I want that. I want what my mom had, and I want anything else you want to give me. And so I remember I was at this conference, and it was one of those moments for me, and I just like, Lord, I don't even know what to do with this, and it wasn't even the room for me. I left. It was snowing outside, and I remember going off into these woods, and I remember, true story, I remember getting down on my knees, and I was a mess, and I was like this football player. I was about 50 pounds heavier than I am right now, and I had given my whole life to football, and had given my whole life to a whole bunch of things. And I wasn't a bad guy, neither are you. You make mistakes, but you're not bad. You know that. But I remember falling on my knees, and I just remember going, God, man, I swear to you, man, I want the real thing, man. I want this so bad, but I don't know how to do it. And man, I'd give you everything, but I don't know how. And I'm telling you, as much as I can say I'm all in, I am all in. I want what you want, even when I don't even know what that is. And I just remember in that moment, I was just like, God, please, like, I don't even know, I don't know even know what I'm saying, but I'm saying that I will give you everything if you'll let me. But I want that fire, man. And I remember in that moment, as clear as God speaks to me, he's like, Matt, dude, I want that more than you do. Trust me. But when you get up off your knees and when you leave this place, there's some things that are going to have to stay right here. And I was like what? He's like, can we talk about that girl you're dating right now? I was like, she could come to Jesus. He's like, yeah, but you know why you're dating her, and you know where you've been, and that's, you think the best strategy for her heart is to keep. And all of a sudden he was like, hey, you know, Matt, I love you. And he's a good dad. I love that you're doing this, football thing. I'd blown my knee. I was working out like 3 hours a day after school because guys like to work out so we look awesome, right, guys? So they're lying. Anyways, that's old me. He just said, hey, Matt, instead of that 3 hours where you're putting it really into yourself, I'm going to ask you to show up to the church every single day for an hour and a half, 2 hours, and just help the youth pastor do anything. But you got to learn from that dude. I put a great man in your life, and you need to learn from him. I planted him. And he started saying, hey, Matt, those parties that you go to, here's the thing, man. You can't go to the same places you've been going, and you know it. You know that you'll be strong for a week, but you won't be strong much longer than that. And I'm just telling you, Matt, here's the thing, man. I want you to go after him. I want you to love your friends. As a matter of fact, a whole bunch of my friends ended up coming to Christ. My dad, when I was a sophomore, I got to lead him to Christ. Brothers have come to Christ. Sisters have come to Christ. A bazillion neighbors. And yeah, I'm just telling you, what God has done in my life has been unbelievable. Matt, hear me. In this moment, the road that I want to take you is not the road that you're on. I love you. Nobody wants this for you more than me. But you're going to have to make a decision because it's not this road that you're on, Matt, does not lead to this destination. And so in that moment, I just said, okay. Then God, and I didn't do it perfectly. But I said, okay, God, that's what I want, man. I want fire in my marriage. I want fire in my kids. I want to know that my boys have a hero to look up to and a man that they can respect. I want that. I want to give my life for the kingdom. I want to stop being so concerned about myself. And he just said, okay, let's go. So if you read this story, I love this. It says, Elijah said, okay, here's the deal, man. If you see me, it's not mine to give, it's God's to give. But you're on the right track. And he just says, as they were walking and talking, suddenly a chariot of fire came. I still can't picture it. Horses of fire separated the two. Elijah went up into heaven. And Elisha got to see a picture of that's what faithfulness looks like. Some of you need that picture in your life. You don't have enough people around you that could ride off of this life in a chariot of fire. And you only have the people that you've been looking at. But God wants to plant those kinds of people in your life so you can start reordering your mind so you can have a different view of what the end's supposed to look like. And Elisha saw this and he cried. It wasn't his dad, but he said, my father. That's the kind of relationship they had. The chariot to horsemen of Israel. And Elijah just saw him. Elisha didn't see him. In verse 13, I just want to focus in on this, and then I want to give you a moment. Elisha then, simple line. Elisha then picked up Elijah's cloak that had fallen from him. And Elijah, and I'll just cut to the chase, Elisha just said, God, thank you for this moment. You know what I've asked for. You know what I'm leaving behind. And I'll leave it behind. I'll choose this road. But right now, I'm not, here's how the story doesn't read. He didn't pick it up and go, Elijah's cloak, that's sweet. I'm going to hang on to that for when it might come in handy sometime. Because one day I might do something awesome. One day I might step in. One day I might be ready for a decision. And he just picks it up and he just says, wow. I guess my time, isn't it? Like, he's not here. And I think I'm ready. I may not know everything, but he picks up his cloak and he goes, where now is the God of Elijah? And he takes it and he's like, what is the last thing Elijah did for this? Oh yeah, smacks the water and it splits. And I believe this. I believe, I watched it with my dad. I believe that God right now, some of you, let me set up the moment now. That's what I'm doing right now. Because your moment is not my sermon. Your moment is the conversation you're about to have with God. But I remember, and I think it's true, I remember that time where I said, God, I don't want to settle. I'm asking for more. That's what I'm doing. Some of you in your room, right now, you need to ask for more. You've been settling and you know it. And maybe here in a minute, you're just going to get on your knees and you're just going to say, it's all you know how to say. God, I'm tired of settling. My whole family has settled. Everything around me has settled. And I am not going to spend my life and never know the fire of your presence. It's not going to happen. I don't even know how to fix it, but I need you. And you're just going to tell him that. Some of you right now are going to say, here's the reality. God's saying, okay, and you've been asking for more, but you've got all this stuff in your life. You got a girlfriend, you got a this, you got a that. I don't know what your thing is, but everybody in the room has something that's keeping you from the more that God's has for you. And he's been calling some stuff. So maybe the other night you stood, and maybe it's anger, maybe it's regret, maybe it's fear. I don't know what it is, but I'm telling you, here in a minute, you're going to have an opportunity to say to him, God, this thing that has been brewing in my chest that I know I can't take home, I leave behind right now. Like it's like I'm going to get on my knees. I don't even know how to leave it here, but I need you. And that's called repentance. You're going to change your mind. You're going to say, this road that I'm on won't get to the place that I want to go. So I'm going to change my mind about it, and I'm going to recognize that that is not the path I want my soul on right now because I know who I long to be. So God, I need your help, man. Some of you need to be real with him and just say, God, I know what but I don't have strength. And you need to tell him. He's going to give you words here in a second. And there's some of you, I just want to tell you that some of you in this room, I want to encourage you. This was my moment your age. I realized that not only was it time to ask for more, not only was it the time to leave things behind, but it was time, as it was with him, it was time to get started. I remember scared out of my mind driving with my dad, who I barely had a relationship with, to go to take my brother to the military. I was scared out of my mind. He beat the fool out of me. I'm just being honest. I hope this isn't being recorded. Anyways. But here's the reality. On that conversation, I just did my best. And I said, God, I don't know what to say, and I don't know how to say it, but if you're going to have to take my words, but it's my time. Like, I will not see you face to face, Father, and my dad not know Jesus. I'm not okay with that. And I'm going to need you to come through on this because it is my time. This is the mantle that you've given me. I want to walk in it, even if I don't know how to do it. I know what you have put inside of me. I want to burn. And on the conversation on the way back, my dad looks at me. He started crying. I'd never seen my dad cry in my entire life. I had my permit and I was driving. And all of a sudden he looked over and he was like, I want what you have. I was driving. He was crying. I was like, Dad, I thought he was having a nervous breakdown. I was like, I literally said out loud, if you want to drive, you can drive. He looked at me like, you're an idiot. He's like, no, the Jesus thing. And I was like, what were we even talking about? So I pull over on the side of the road. I wish I remember which mile marker it was. And I watched the most impossible thing that ever happened in my life, the most supernatural thing that ever happened in my life, and that was the day that my dad came to Christ. And then God just started saying, Matt, it's your time, man. It's your time, it's your time, and it's your time. And maybe your time right now is you need to go back, and there's some stuff that he needs you to do, and it's your time. You got to stop making excuses, stop waiting around for somebody else. It's your time to step up in your school. It's your time to tell your dad what you know that you should be saying to your dad, or your mom what needs to be said to your mom, or your brother what needs to be said to your brother, or your best friend what needs to be said to your best friend. But it is your time, and it is nobody else is around to grab this mantle. It is yours to pick up and yours alone, and it's time for you to pick it up, and you know it. And I just want to be your friend. Pick up the mantle. It's your time. Some of you right now, you have had a burning in your heart, and you know from the time you were younger, or maybe it's recently happened, that God has been calling you to maybe full-time ministry, but you're not sure what that looks like. You're scared out of your mind. You know what that looks like. And I'm just telling, I was you. And I remember sitting there, and I remember wondering, is that really for me? Is that something, God, that you have for me? And it just burned. It felt like a 10,000-pound weight on my chest until the day that I said, God, I know what you've been doing to me. I have no clue what to do. I'll probably be bad at it, but I'm picking up the mantle. I'm just going to say yes. And I remember saying before him, probably 6 months before I said it to anybody else, I will go and do whatever you want, and God, you know, I'm going to go into full-time ministry. And some of you, I just want to say this room because we don't talk enough to some of you. Today's your day where you get on your knee and you say, I'm going to stop saying maybe. I'm going to start saying yes to that thing that I know that's been there. But here's what I'm going to do, and I'm going to have you in just a moment. I'm going to have you spin around. I'm going to have you talk to God, and you're going to talk to him about whatever he's put in your heart. Whether that's asking for more, asking what needs to stay behind, or asking him what mantle he wants you to pick up. But I'm praying, I've been praying, that when your knee hits the floor, that he speaks to you in the way that only he can. And I know him. He knows you better than anybody. And if you'll be honest, if you be authentic, you're about to hear a word from your dad that you need. So here's what we're going to do. On the count of three, just everybody, 1, 2, 3. Everybody stand up. If you're able, if you're not, it's okay. You can sit. Just turn around and just drop to your knees. This is your time. Just talk to him.